Good morning. My name is Juan Carlos Cerda, and I am a DACA recipient, the Deputy Director for the American Business Immigration Coalition, or ABIC, and the Director for the Texas chapter of ABIC. ABIC is a bipartisan coalition of more than 1,200 CEOs and employers across 16 states, from Texas to Idaho, Florida to Arizona. We strongly prefer bipartisan solutions on immigration. ABIC has met directly with 41 Republican senators face-to-face, but despite many conversations that were positive, not a single Republican senator stepped forward to co-sponsor existing bipartisan legislation like the DREAM Act. For now, if reconciliation is going forward, including immigration in this budget reconciliation bill is the only solution that is available until the 2022 midterms. Yesterday, a new national battleground poll of over 70 competitive House districts show that voters are smart. They're smarter than professional politicians on the issue of immigration. Voters in both parties want solutions. Even Trump voters support an earned path to citizenship for undocumented immigrants. These voters are sophisticated, and they know that immigrants like me have been working and contributing to our economy for more than 15 years. If we fail to pass immigration reform, millions could be deported, farms and small businesses could shut down, and our economy would suffer. This poll shows that Democrats can and need to be courageous. Republicans need to stop being paralyzed by a minority of their voters. Passing immigration reform right now makes moral, economic, and political sense. If you're a reporter at this press conference, please feel free to enter your question in the Q&A box. Now, it is my pleasure to introduce our Texas chapter co-chair, Chris Wallace, the President and CEO of the North Texas Commission.
Thank you, Juan Carlos, and we certainly do appreciate your leadership of TBIC, and congratulations on your success as a DACA recipient yourself. We really appreciate your leadership. Members of the media, thank you for being here, my colleagues on this panel today. As Juan Carlos said, I'm Chris Wallace, President and CEO of the North Texas Commission. As you know, we are a very unique public-private partnership that drives large, impactful projects throughout our 13-county region. And of course, we lead our region's advocacy voice at the federal and state levels. Our board of directors made up of public and private sector leaders, primarily our larger employers in our public sector, our counties, our cities, our school districts, and our universities. All support immigration reform. It's a big priority in our federal priorities of the 117th Congress. We know that immigration reform will strengthen our region's competitiveness, which is particularly critical at this time. It will also enhance the vibrancy of our local workforce and our economy. Let me give you some numbers to put that into perspective. Our region has more than 575,000 immigrant workers who pay $1.3 billion in local, state, and federal taxes. These immigrant workers wield a $10.2 billion spending power. That's incredible. Another fact, 89% of our region's undocumented workers are of working age. So particularly at this critical time in our region, in our state, in our country of labor shortages, these are workers who could be employed by our region's businesses. Moreover, 40,965 undocumented entrepreneurs own businesses in North Texas. These create jobs for Americans. They grow our economy. And we strongly feel at the Commission that immigration reform is bipartisan. It's urgent, and it belongs in budget reconciliation. So this is why we at our board and at the North Texas Commission are asking members of Congress to use all options on the table to pass immigration reform this year. And that's why we will continue to advocate very hard until we accomplish this goal. So thank you very much, Juan Carlos.
Thank you so much, Chris, for your leadership. You have been one of our biggest supporters for immigration reform in North Texas and across the state. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of my peers, a remarkable entrepreneur who I got to meet at a philanthropy conference in Dallas. He is a DACA recipient and an aspiring and successful businessman. Alberto Garcia, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Hello, thank you, Juan Carlos. Hey guys, so my name is Alberto Garcia and I'm a DACA recipient and an entrepreneur in Dallas. I was born in Zacatecas, Mexico, and came to the U.S. with my mother and siblings when I was 6 years old. My mother brought us to the U.S. so we could have a better life and a better future. She owns a staffing company called Askel, and she employs over 70 people and earns over $1 million in revenue. My siblings and I are both DACA, we're all DACA recipients. My sister and my brother both help out my mom with her business. My sister, Maria, she's the operations manager, and my brother, he's an IT and data input guy. I grew up in undocumented in Pleasant Grove neighborhood, but despite this obstacle, I learned English. I graduated from North Mesquite High School and obtained a college degree in real estate from the University of North Texas. It was thanks to the advocacy of undocumented students urging Congress and the president to pass an immigration solution and solution that I was able to obtain my DACA status back in 2013, and I was able to put that education to good use. I was able to obtain my driver's license to be able to drive to commute to school. I was able to pay for my college by working full time during the summers and during school. I was able to purchase, well, my siblings and I were able to purchase a family for my mother. And I was lucky enough to start my own business, a uniform business called Uniformity in Dallas. And I employ over 6 workers right now. And with our savings, also my family and I, we invested in our first investment property 2 years ago. DACA has changed me and my siblings' lives, opening so many opportunities that were previously unavailable to us. DACA, but DACA, the DACA program is temporary and was ruled illegal by a federal court this year. Our undocumented status is also prevents us from growing our businesses as DACA business owners. And a pathway to legal status would allow us to gain resource, to be able to obtain SBA business resources that right now are currently only available to citizens. A pathway to legal status, and that will allow us to do business with public schools and government agencies and achieve our dreams of being fully part of the United States. This is why I'm asking Congress and President Biden to ensure a path to legal status, including a budget reconciliation and use of every option at their disposal to make sure immigration reform happens this year. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your testimony with us, Alberto. You are an inspiration and you show the rest of our immigrant community and the rest of the business community que sí se puede. Yes, we can. Now it is my pleasure to introduce a dear friend who is an attorney and a community leader in Dallas. Among her long list of accomplishments, she served as assistant to President Bill Clinton. She was director of the White House Office of Intergovernmental Affairs. She was a board member for DFW International Airport, and she's currently a member of the steering committee for the DNC Women's Leadership Forum. Please welcome Regina Montoya.
Juan Carlos, thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and you are my inspiration, so thank you. As Juan Carlos mentioned, my name is Regina Montoya, and I am an attorney and community leader in Dallas. My grandparents were immigrants from Mexico and came to the U.S. with only a third grade education. We lived with my Spanish-speaking family members, and my first language was Spanish. I support immigration reform, not only because of my family, but also because I have come to know many immigrants, including dreamers, who have contributed to the economic success of our country, have made it the place that it is right now. It is now my pleasure to introduce one of the biggest supporters for immigration reform from Dallas and one of my mentors, Congresswoman Bernice Johnson. The Congresswoman is the first African American and woman to chair the House Committee on Science, Space, and Technology, and she is the Dean of the Texas Congressional Delegation. Welcome, Congresswoman Bernice Johnson.
Hello, I'm Congresswoman Bernice Johnson, and I proudly represent the 3rd Congressional District of Texas. Although my committee responsibilities prevented me from being able to join you this morning, I am pleased to have the opportunity to say a few words. Let me start with the obvious. A comprehensive reform of our immigration system is long overdue. For years, the House and the Senate have shown interest in coming together to solve this issue, but are seemingly unwilling or unable to get on the same page. Bills have passed in one chamber with bipartisan support, only to then be stalled in the other. But in the reconciliation process, I see a real opportunity to finally make some meaningful progress. The parliamentarians rule preventing a path to citizenship for up to 8 million undocumented immigrants from being included in the reconciliation is certainly an obstacle, but it is not the end of the road. We can still take action, and we can do that by taking a closer look at changing the laws that have defined our broken immigration system for decades. In my district alone, there are an estimated 50,000 undocumented essential workers and over 9,000 dreamers. I have said for years that dreamers are among the brightest and most talented members of our community. They are our neighbors, our classmates, and our co-workers. If they were to be deported, not only would we lose $250 million in GDP, but we'd also be losing an important piece of our community, our culture, and our very way of life. I remain committed to working with President Biden and all of my colleagues in Congress to find common sense solutions to our immigration problems. So again, thank you for the opportunity to address you today.
We certainly do appreciate the leadership of the chairwoman for joining us today via video. We are very excited and honored to have with us today Dr. Richard Benson, president of the University of Texas at Dallas in Richardson. Dr. Benson, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Chris, and I'm pleased to have this opportunity to add a few words in support of immigration reform. As you heard, I'm the president of the University of Texas at Dallas. Our university is 51 years old, and according to the Chronicle of Higher Education, is the nation's 3rd fastest growing doctoral level university. It is important to note that a few years before UT Dallas became UT Dallas, we were established as the Graduate Research Center of the Southwest by the same individuals who founded Texas Instruments. The reason for this far-sighted act was for the future UT Dallas to be a supplier of highly trained talent to the booming high-tech companies in North Texas. We've made good on that promise, and throughout our history, international students have been vital to UT Dallas's success and subsequently the success of the Dallas economy. 2/3 of our 124,000 alumni live and work in the Metroplex. This fall, among our nearly 30,000 students, we have 4,054 graduate students from foreign countries, 866 undergraduate students from foreign countries, and approximately 36 dreamers. Like other DACA students, roughly 1/3 arrived in the U.S. before the age of 5, and they form deep roots in our society and economy. With rare exception, our DACA students graduate from a Texas high school, meet UT Dallas's high admission standards, thrive on our campus, and enhance the learning experience for their classmates and teachers. It makes no sense to me to sustain barriers that would keep a dreamer from getting a world-class education at a university like UT Dallas, and then to further impede their ability to contribute to the local economy after graduation. On the national level, 96% of dreamers are either working or in school. Dreamers are some of our nation's highest achieving and talented assets, And in this era of COVID, many are serving their communities as essential workers. Providing permanent relief to our state's dreamers is the economically important, politically smart, and morally right thing to do. I support any federal congressional solution that allows Texas dreamers to continue working and contributing because it will strengthen our state, grow our workforce, and provide peace of mind to the families, employers, and university communities like UTD's. Thank you for considering my viewpoint. It is now my pleasure to queue up a video address from our next speaker, U.S. Representative Colin Allred.
Hello, I'm Congressman Colin Allred, and I represent the 32nd District of Texas, where I was born and raised. Growing up here, I learned the North Texas value of looking out for one another. That's what makes this community and our nation so great. We have to make sure that North Texas remains a community where everyone, no matter where they live or who they are, can chase their version of the American dream. And immigrants make up the cultural fabric of our nation. They are our neighbors and coworkers, classmates and teachers, nurses and doctors who we've come to rely on certainly in the last year and a half, police officers and firefighters, service members, and veterans. In short, they're our friends and our family. Our North Texas businesses thrive because of our immigrant community, and immigrants play an essential role in our economy, working for some of the biggest companies here in North Texas and starting their own small businesses right here in our community. Immigrants helped build our nation and have helped us become and remain a diverse nation that was strengthened by that diversity. Immigrant workers are vital to the Texas economy, in short, but our immigration system, it remains broken, and it's been complicated by years of inaction. Too often, politicians in Washington have sought to use the issue of immigration to divide us, instead of uniting us around the comprehensive reforms that we know we need and that we ultimately, I think, understand have to happen. Immigration reform is urgent and it's bipartisan. And although the Senate parliamentarians ruled against including immigration reform in the Build Back Better Act, I want to promise you that I'm going to continue to advocate for all options and to work with anyone to make comprehensive immigration reform a reality. That includes creating a pathway to citizenship for our North Texas dreamers, those eligible for TPS, farm workers, and undocumented immigrants in essential occupations who've been on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. There's bipartisan support for this in Texas, and I'll keep working to get this done. North Texas is a great place to start a business or raise a family. We need to make sure that when foreign workers come to our country or when international students graduate from our great universities, that we're able to keep their talent right here in North Texas, where they also want to live and stay. I look forward to working with my colleagues and our businesses in Texas to make sure that we fix our broken immigration system and create laws that reflect the values that our country was founded upon. I thank you for your time and look forward to continue working together to ensure the success of our economy, our neighbors, and North Texas.
I know that the congressman certainly wishes that he could be here with us in person on this video conference this morning, and we thank him for his leadership. As many of you know, he serves on the prestigious Transportation Infrastructure Committee, which is so imperative now, as well as Foreign Affairs. So thank you, Congressman Allred. Now to a man who certainly needs no introduction, one of our most prominent regional leaders, and who has been with us, a friend of immigrants and immigration reform, fighting this battle from day one. Please welcome Dallas County Judge Clay Jenkins. Judge, welcome.
Chris, thank you. Thank you for having me here today. I want to talk about the importance of immigrants to our economy and to here in Dallas County. And then I want to give you some breaking news on where we are with our unemployment numbers, which will just illustrate why we need comprehensive immigration reform. So immigrants are very economically important here in Dallas County. 640,376 immigrants live right here in Dallas County. They pay $4.1 billion in local, state, and federal taxes, and they have a spending power of $13.4 billion, and that's an annual number. 40% of all of our businesses here in Dallas County are owned by immigrants. 48,228 immigrant entrepreneurs generate $1.2 billion in business income for this county. Now, undocumented workers are economically important to Dallas County. They are 47.7% of all immigrants in the county. They are 305,196 of our residents here are undocumented workers here in Dallas County. And these workers pay about $619 million in local, state, and federal taxes and wield a spending power of $5.9 billion. And they represent 31.6% of our construction force, 15.9% of our hospitality workforce. If these workers were allowed to come out of the shadows, they would contribute even more to our GDP and taxes to Dallas County. And by doing that, it would raise wages for others, below $20 an hour. Now, immigration reform could create jobs, boost the economy, ease the labor shortfall, and support families. I want to just give you very quickly our numbers from this morning to illustrate that point. This morning, with our August numbers, we have more people working now in Dallas County than we did before the pandemic. There are nearly 2,500 people working now than there were before the pandemic. But our unemployment rate before the pandemic was 3.1%. This morning, it's 5.2%. Why is that? We have 65,000 jobs that are unfilled. We have people still looking for work, struggling and hurting out there to fill those jobs. We need immigration reform to keep our economy going, to help fill jobs, to help bring people out of the shadows so that they can get the training to fill those jobs. It's a very important thing. Forgetting for a moment the suffering and the unfairness to the families that we basically abuse and exploit by purposefully keeping them in the shadow and depressing their wages, it's hurting all of us. It's hurting people who are blue collar workers, and it's hurting our business. It's hurting our economy. It's hurting your pocketbook. So please.
Thank you so much, Judge Jenkins.
Immigration reform.
Judge Jenkins, you have been one of our greatest allies here in Dallas-Fort Worth for immigration reform. We really do appreciate your support, and we continue to look forward to working with you to achieve this big dream of ours to have immigration reform.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Judge. Now it is my pleasure to invite DELMY Gomez, a TPS recipient and a school cafeteria worker, to share her story. DELMY, si puede compartir su testimonio con nosotros, por favor, en español.
Sí, hola. Mi nombre es DELMY Gómez. Vivo en Estados Unidos y soy hondureña. Vine aquí en 1998 debido al huracán Mitch. Soy tepeciana. El TPS me ha dado la oportunidad de trabajar, tener una vida mejor aquí que en Honduras. Trabajo como asistente de la cocina en Head Start, Green Dallas, y tengo una casa y también tengo, gracias a Dios, 3 hijos. Una de ellas está en la ciudad, está estudiando de ingeniera en Austin, Texas. Está con la idea de ella de sobresalir y aportar a esta nación. Aquí en Texas tenemos, debido al fallo que tuvimos, no podemos solicitar una tarjeta verde debido al fallo de la Corte Suprema. Dependo del presidente para entender mi estatus del TPS. Cada 15 meses, el próximo presidente podría quitarlos o ponerle fin al TPS, cancelar mi permiso de trabajo y deportarme. No puedo imaginarme dejar a mis hijos, ya que aquí mis hijos consideramos como nuestro hogar. los beneficios del TPS como yo, los beneficiarios del TPS como yo sueñan con obtener la residencia permanente en Texas. En Texas hay 66,261 beneficiarios tepecianos que pagan 374.6 billones de impuestos y tienen 1.4 mil millones en poder económico. Al camino hacia el estatus legal, los haría mucho más la oportunidad de empleo, nos permitiría más contribuir a los Estados Unidos en un ingreso o impuestos. El fallo de la parlamentaria del Senado el domingo fue decepcionante, pero no es el fin de nuestra lucha. Imploro a los miembros del Congreso que hagan todo lo posible, estén en su alcance para promover nuevas opciones, para que la parlamentaria incluya un camino hacia la ciudadanía para los beneficios del TPS en el proyecto de ley de reconciliación o al presupuesto. Muchas gracias, se los agradezco y que Dios los bendiga y ojalá tengamos un éxito de tener la ciudadanía o la residencia a nosotros los tepecianos.
Ojalá
Gracias.
que sí, Delmy. Muchísimas gracias por compartir su testimonio. And just very quickly, a translation of Delmy's story. Delmy came to the U.S. when Hurricane Mitch hit Honduras in 1998. TPS gave her the opportunity to work and have a better life here than in Honduras. She is an assistant cafeteria worker at Head Start and owns a home and 2 cars in Dallas. She has 3 U.S. citizen children, one of whom studying to be an engineer at the University of Texas. She cannot apply for a green card because the Supreme Court ruled that she cannot do so, and she depends on the president to extend TPS every 15 months. The next president could end TPS. It could terminate her work permit and make her deportable. She can't fathom leaving her country, which she calls home, which is the U.S., and the TPS recipients like her dream of a path to permanent legal status. In Texas, there are 66,000 TPS recipients just like Delmy, and they contribute $374 million in local, state, and federal taxes and wield the spending power of $1.4 billion. A path to legal status would open up many employment opportunities for Delmy and other TPS recipients, and she's asking that the Senate parliamentarian consider other options to include TPS recipients in budget reconciliation. Thank you so much, Delmy. Muchas gracias. Now, Chris,
Juan Carlos, thank you. And Ms. Gomez, thank you for that very inspiring testimony. It's now my pleasure to introduce videotape remarks from U.S. Representative Marc Veasey. The congressman is in a hearing, as are the others, and could not be here this morning. As many of you are aware, the congressman serves on the powerful Energy and Commerce Committee, so certainly understands the importance of immigration reform. Let's hear the remarks from Congressman Veasey.
Thank you to the American Business Immigration Coalition for having me here today to discuss why immigration reform is urgent, bipartisan, and belongs in the budget reconciliation. The parliamentarians' ruling last Sunday is only one step in the process to determine whether immigrant workers can get a path to legal status in the budget reconciliation bill. While it was a disheartening decision, our fight is just beginning. My congressional colleagues and I will continue to advocate for all options to make legalization a reality, including by updating the immigration registry date. There are over 70,000 undocumented essential workers in Texas's 33rd district. If they had permanent legal status, they would add $1.4 billion in GDP annually and contribute $241 million more in local, state, and federal taxes. Additionally, CD33 has close to 12,000 dreamers. These are among the most talented and educated immigration workers in our district. If DACA recipients from this district were deported, CD33 would lose $342.9 million in GDP annually. That's why I voted in favor of the Bipartisan American Dream and Promise Act and Farm Workforce Modernization Act to provide undocumented essential workers with a path to citizenship. In a letter to Congress, economists argue that creating a pathway to citizenship for dreamers, those eligible for TPS, and undocumented immigrants in essential occupations, including farm workers, would grow the U.S. GDP by $1.5 trillion, raise the annual wages of all workers by $600, and create more than 400,000 new jobs over the next decade. This data underscores why fighting for a pathway to citizenship is essential to both our local economy here in Texas and our nation's economy. Immigration reform will create jobs, boost the economy, ease the labor shortage, positively impact the federal budget, and support families. And that is why I will continue to fight for it.
Thank you so much, Congressman Veasey, for your leadership. We will now open up the press conference for questions. And we do have a question from Juanita Hernandez from Estrella TV. The question is, if immigration reform will benefit our economy, what to make of the situation with the unauthorized Haitian migrants who are coming to the Metroplex, with them arriving from the south during this border situation? Is that a concern for the county? And I would probably answer that, Juanita, and say that it's probably an issue that is separate from legalizing immigrants who have been here a long time. I do think it is tragic, and I believe Judge Jenkins can also weigh in on this issue. Judge Jenkins?
Juanita, I didn't realize there'd be an opportunity to speak. Well, I can't tell what's going on here. Can y'all see me? I can't see you.
Yes, go ahead, Judge.
So I just sent you a reply, Juanita. For a lot of people, and I understand this, for a lot of people, they see those images on the border, and different people see different things, right? It can be scary to people. They can say, these folks are coming in, and there's so many of them, and they're unvaccinated, and I'm worried about that. I look at that, and I'm reminded that our Lord and Savior was an unauthorized immigrant whose family was forced to flee from Israel and took refuge in Egypt. But I understand people can look at that and they can have a lot of different feelings, but they're two separate issues. What we're talking about is a business-friendly, targeted pathway to citizenship for people who are dreamers brought here by their parents through no fault of their own, for people who have temporary status, for people who are already working. What we're talking about today is not an open border policy. It's a pathway to citizenship. Now, that's a separate issue. It's a serious issue, what's going on the border. It doesn't lend itself to talking points and, anything that we can resolve probably on this short Zoom. But it's important that we don't conflate the two issues, because you can look at what's happening on the border, and you can believe in different solutions. My heart breaks. I do not like to see the use of horses and lassos and whips on human beings. That makes me very angry. But it is a serious issue, and one that you can have a conservative viewpoint on, or a more moderate or progressive viewpoint on. But there's broad bipartisan support for targeted, business-friendly pathways to citizenship, and that's what we're talking about today.
Thank you so much, Judge Jenkins, for that answer. And to answer in Spanish for your viewers, Juanita, el asunto de legalizar a los soñadores, los tepecianos y los trabajadores esenciales es distinto a lo que está pasando ahorita en la frontera, aunque lo que está pasando en la frontera con los migrantes haitianos es muy triste ver, pero son asuntos separados que los republicanos están usando para manipular para sus intereses. y sabemos que la reforma migratoria es muy popular, es bipartidista y que los votantes estadounidenses lo saben, son más inteligentes que los políticos, ellos quieren soluciones. Eso no hubiera ocurrido si un trato entre los demócratas y republicanos hubiera pasado y si los republicanos no hubieran hecho nada debido a esta situación que está pasando en la frontera. Entonces necesitamos resolver estos problemas y no usar el tema de migración para ganar elecciones. Now we have just one more question from Laura Cruces from Univision. She's asking if, Alberto, if you could share your testimony in Spanish.
Hi. Yes, let me try to. So, yeah, mi nombre es Alberto García y yo vine a los Estados, bueno, mi mamá nos trajo a los Estados Unidos cuando teníamos 6 años. Tengo un hermano y una hermana y ella nos trajo a los Estados Unidos para tener una mejor vida porque somos de México, de Zacatecas, México, y crecimos en la comunidad de Pleasant Grove y pasando por Pleasant Grove me gradué de la high school North Mesquite y luego después de North Mesquite fui a la Universidad de University of North Texas y agarré una degree en real estate, en bienes y raíces. Y después de recibir, después de recibir un título universitario, empecé mi negocio que se llama Uniformity y luego ahorita estoy trabajando tengo todo eso gracias a DACA. Antes, sin DACA no podía tener mi licencia, no podía pagar para mi escuela porque no podía trabajar con un seguro real. Durante la universidad yo trabajaba los fines de semana y trabajaba todos los días gracias a DACA. Gracias por DACA pude cambiar mi vida y mi hermana y mi hermano, toda mi familia pudimos cambiar nuestra vida. Gracias por la oportunidad de DACA.
Gracias, Alberto. Thank you so much. And I guess the final question before we close out is whether any of this dialogue has any effect on whether immigration reform can happen at the federal level, because a lot of people feel that immigrants and the solution for immigration reform is a joke that's never going to happen. And I'll answer this in Spanish. Para usted, Juanita, sabemos que tenemos que seguir luchando porque los partidos, tanto demócrata como republicanos, tienen que pasar una reforma migratoria. Sabemos que el Congreso y la Casa Blanca están bajo el control de los demócratas y si ellos no pasan una solución a la inmigración, va a haber consecuencias políticas. Acabo de mencionar esta encuesta que enseña que los votantes quieren soluciones y van a darle el premio al partido que lo logre, y si el partido que está ahorita en control no lo logra, van a haber consecuencias. And with that, I will hand it over to Chris.
Juan Carlos, thank you. And to all of our speakers, thank you for joining us today. And members of the media, thank you. Please know that we're here for you as a resource. This is the year for immigration reform. As I mentioned earlier, it is urgent. It should be bipartisan. It belongs in budget reconciliation. Immigration reform would address our region's need for labor shortages. It would create jobs. It would grow our economy. Voters after voters, as many of you are aware, polls after polls show that voters, Americans, wish to have action on immigration, and that is growing more and more so each and every day. Together with the overwhelming majority of Americans and Texans, we look forward to working with members of our North Texas congressional delegation here at the Commission. We need our delegation to help lead the way to ensure that immigration reform is included in budget reconciliation. Now is the time to act. So therefore, we urge all members of the public to please call their members of Congress and ask them to support this reform. Thank you all for being here today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, today is North Texas Giving Day, so please give generously. Thank you very much.